Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farm, the podcast. This is your host, JC Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: avoiding confrontation. So in today's podcast, my friends, we're going to discuss avoiding confrontation, how that impacts the overall just future of the family farm, future of your family, and everything around that. So yesterday, inside of our community boardroom call, we had about 40 members on the call, and inside of our community, we're approaching 300 members, which is great because each member provides different stories, different challenges, different levels of adversity that they've overcome, different ways to solve problems, just different levels of experience. I cannot imagine if you were to add up all the years of combined farming and ranching and just running an ag business experience inside of our network, it would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, which is super, super beneficial for our members. So inside of yesterday's conversation, we had some new members come in not too long ago, and it's kind of the typical, regular story that a lot of us are accustomed to where, granddad started the family farm operation, parents stayed on the farm, parents are now in their 60s, granddad is pushing 90 or a little bit older, and the son came back to the operation to eventually take it over and run it. And the son is in his 30s or 40s. Now, the problem that we are running into is that this son went to college and came back to the operation, obviously did what a lot of people do, got married, had kids, and his wife and his family had been back living on the operation. Now, the size of this family operation, it's a pretty sizable operation. There's a lot of different moving parts. There's a seed dealership, there's a gun store, there's the farm, there's cattle. There's a lot of different moving parts to this operation. And the problem is that there's only one person in control still. And this person just happens to be the grandfather who is in his, I can't remember, his either late 80s or early 90s, and is still kind of controlling and holding all the cards there. And the problem that this customer of ours, this member, is going through is that, they've sacrificed a lot to move back to the operation. They've gotten married. They've moved their family back there. They're living in small town America. And this customer actually lives not too far away from me in Kansas. And I know the exact area that they're living in. So they've sacrificed a lot to come back and ultimately carry on this legacy. But the problem is that this individual's father avoids confrontation at all costs. And what I mean by that is nobody knows who's in charge, because at the end of the day, granddad still holds all the cards. This member's father, who is in his late 50s, early 60s, is unwilling to have any type of confrontation with the old man. And the son is sitting here saying, well, hey, this is what you said was going to happen the past 10 years, and none of this has taken place, and I don't know what's going on. You tell me that I'm supposed to be doing certain things, so then I get our entire team organized and tell the guys exactly what they're supposed to do for the day. And then either granddad or dad comes in and just hamstrings them and tells the team to do something else. And it just completely screws up the entire process. And guys, this is the problem when, one, nobody steps up and takes control. But two, we don't have any systems or processes in place for communication and running a legit business. Like, the lack of communication inside of the ag industry and between all these families is a big reason we have a lot of these blowout fights, or, honestly, it's a big reason that a lot of family farms fail, because a lot of us, we're just uncomfortable stepping into that space where we can just collide with somebody. Notice how I didn't say fight with somebody. I said collide with somebody. But a majority of us, if you grew up on the farm, you're fighting with somebody. And that's why you just avoid it. You avoid the confrontation because you know what the other person may react emotionally, or you may react emotionally. And at the end of the day, you don't get anything accomplished that you actually wanted to out of the conversation. So again, this causes us to just avoid it at all cost. I saw the same thing happen with my dad and my granddad back when we had the family feed yard. These guys would work next to each other every single day, but if they had a blow up fight, they would work next to each other, but literally not talk for 2 months. And then they would never actually talk or discuss the issue that started the fight in the first place. And this can go on for years, guys. And these type of things, you let this problem compound for years, it is going to end up destroying the family farm. And it's a guarantee. It is an absolute guarantee that this will happen. And so we have to be able to accept responsibility and be willing to step into this uncomfortable space of confrontation. And the word I like to use there is collide. But again, there's no training or education on this, guys. Like, my biggest problem with ag business owners today is one, we don't know our numbers. But two, I can't really, yes, it's up to the ag business owner to learn their numbers. But at the same time, we're all brought up in this system of traditional education. You go to business school and finance school and all this type of stuff. I have a finance degree. My finance degree taught me nothing about the reality of how markets move and how business is in reality. It was great theory, but it's not reality. So at the same time, it's not quite our fault when we were kind of trained and conditioned the wrong way. Okay, but going back to having those crucial conversations and being able to step into this confrontation, you have to understand what's going to happen if you don't do this. And so with this member yesterday, we were really painting the picture of what his life was going to look like and what his marriage was going to look like and what his kids' lives were going to look like if he did not step up, take some action, confront his dad, confront his granddad, and have these crucial conversations. Because, the younger generation, the guys in their 20s and 30s and 40s, we come back to the farm operation, we're ready to build this thing. Like, we're ready to take it to the next level. And in order to do this, the next generation has to let go of some of the reins here so that we can actually lead this thing. And again, if you're not willing to step in and have that uncomfortable conversation and collide with your family members, then you need to seriously consider stepping away and doing something completely different, because that crutch right there, that will ruin you. Because here's the deal. You will spend the next 20, 30 years being told the same story. Hey, just from your, and I'm talking the same story from your parents or your grandparents. Yeah, just stay with us. Just stay with us. We're going to start transferring assets. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Your family's going to be taken care of. And then all of a sudden 30 years goes by and you look at your balance sheet and you have nothing. You've accomplished nothing. You've been working as an employee for the family farm operation for decades now. And your wife and your kids have been sitting there saying, hey, what the hell? Like, I thought this was going to happen. When we moved here 20 years ago, I thought you were going to get some equity. I thought you were going to get some responsibility. I thought we were going to be able to build our own thing off of this family farm operation. And that just doesn't happen. And it's because we're not trained or taught how to step into these crucial conversations. So that's what a lot of our community boardroom call was around yesterday, was strategically planning out this conversation to have with the father, with the grandfather, to just get some guidance, just for somebody to step up and say, hey, I'm in charge of this and I'm taking lead over this. And if this is what we were agreeing to, you can no longer come in and hamstring me. You can no longer come in and go behind my back and tell our team that we're doing something different when I just decided at the beginning of the day what the action steps were for the day. But the other thing that we're finding too, guys, is these operations with their big teams, they have no method or system or process for communication between the teams either. They don't. And no, everybody's running around majority of the time basing their actions off of assumptions. They're assuming they should do this. They're assuming they should do that. And then the guy that's actually in charge gets mad at them because they did something that he couldn't, he didn't think they should be doing. Well, I'm sorry, but your team can't read your mind. Like, you, as the leader, you have to invest the time and the education into figuring out systems and processes so that your team can operate efficiently. And everybody knows what's going on at all times, and everybody is doing things the right way, in the productive way, instead of just wasting time, making mistakes, costing money. Like, guys, you need to understand how big of a problem this is. And I'm talking about confrontation, not just between family members, but between you and your team as well. And being able to lead from a high level and lead your team and lead your family. And the thing is, guys, is if you're going to be a true leader, I'm sorry, but confrontation is part of the job. That's just part of the job. Like, this member's father has avoided confrontation his entire life. And that goes back to, whenever he was maybe trying to have a collision with his father when he was younger, he probably got shot down a lot. And eventually, the more times you get shot down, the more silent you become. And that's the truth. And there's a lot of pain in that, guys. There really is. I talk about that lightly a little bit, and we're just in a podcast here, but there's a lot of pain there, because if you come back and you're motivated and you're in your 30s or 40s, or your 20s, and you're coming back, okay, I got this idea, and then you just consistently get shot down, well, it doesn't take very long for you to go silent and then honestly just not give a shit anymore. And then you just kind of become this robot going on about your day-to-day life, never changing anything. Because every time you do try to change something, you get shot down. Well, I'm sorry, but we cannot accept that. We do not accept that inside a Legacy Farmer. Our members take a stand because we train them on the tools, the resources, and everything they need to know to structure conversations, to have the courage to collide with people, and ultimately make sure that they are getting what they want out of that conversation, at the same time making sure the other person gets what they want as well. We're not coming at this one-sided. Okay, there's two parties to this transaction. We got to make sure that everybody works out everything. Each agreement is benefiting both parties here. Okay, we're not coming at this one-sided, but you have to be trained on how to have these conversations, and that's what we spend a lot of our time doing inside a Legacy Farmer. Because again, when we look at farms and family farms and ranches, and the biggest reasons that they fail is, one, because they don't know their numbers. They have no business organization. Everything's absolute chaos. You walk into their office and there's just like papers laid all over the desk or all over the floor. It's a shit show in there, right? Or two, the lack of communication. And this goes on to just running day-to-day operations, clear up to estate planning and who's getting what and how are we structuring this and what are the rules and what are the guidelines here? How are we passing on this legacy and making sure it's sustainable for the next generation? These are all of the things that we handle inside of Legacy Farmer. And it's just critical, guys. It is super, super critical. So my friends, that's where I'm going to end this conversation. But if you are in a similar position as this new member that we brought in, you're in your 30s or 40s and you came back to the operation, you're wanting to make some changes, you're wanting to get your books in order, you're wanting to get the business organized, or you're wanting to start taking over some assets, and you're trying to figure out, how do I have these conversations? How do I do this? Well, just so you know, inside of Legacy Farmer, that is what we are focusing on. So my friends, hope you found this conversation valuable, and we will catch you on the next episode.